I feel called to respond in whatever way I can, using the gifts and the talents and the experiences God has blessed me with in my life to help the church understand all facets of generosity and what it means to be disciples living to our true capacity. Even as I immersed myself more deeply into this sense of call and this desire to serve, I've found my capacity to give, to serve, to encourage, to support others in their spiritual journey. It blossomed, it grew so much. And it was only through that spiritual reflection in those times where I was quiet and contemplative and reading from the scriptures that I recognized my life was living Section 163, verse 9. I was able to understand what is my true capacity. I'm still learning that, but it amazed me that I saw that, I witnessed that scripture. That scripture became real to me and tangible to me in ways that I never imagined possible. I was born here in Independence, but I've lived throughout the United States. I've lived in St. Louis and Charlotte, North Carolina. Denver, Colorado is where I kind of grew up for middle and high school. And the church was our family. It didn't matter where I was on my growth continuum as a minister, as a disciple. There's always a place for our ministry to be shared and always a place for us to contribute towards not only our own well-being and development in the life of the church, but for that of others. When I think about people in my life that have been especially important or ones that I look to for guidance and encouragement, my mind immediately goes back to my childhood in the 1970s with my uncle, Lewis Hancock. And I watched him, and it stuck with me as a young child that here was someone who was pretty awesome. It really was. I mean, that's the way you have to look at it. He was the first person to really tell me that God had a work for me to do in the church. And when you're 11 years old, I don't know if you truly grasp all of the nuances of that, but he was the person that planted the seed in my mind that I made a difference and that I was important, not only to God, but to the church as well. The church itself has faced very difficult times throughout its history. We happen to be in one of those times right now, but throughout all of those experiences, we as a people have emerged as stronger, more capable, better equipped to carry out Christ's mission in the church and in the world. I think what's different this time is just the postmodern cultural shifts in the Western countries of the church. And that puts us in a different dynamic of having to work through some of those unique challenges. But I think it also gives us the permission to imagine what the church could look like in a very different cultural context. And as our scriptures tell us, we should let the Spirit breathe. We've seen how generous disciples are with their financial resources. However, we also know that disciples have their time, their talents, and their testimony to share. But more importantly, they have invitation. That's such a powerful gift. And when disciples share that gift with others, we see that Spirit beginning to permeate and beginning to infuse through the church and strengthen us in ways that we can't imagine.